All right, yes, sir.
Could you please do 24?
All right, let's take a quick look at 24. I think we're referring to this picture up here, right?
Yes.
You see that? So what's the relationship, it says, between 8 and 12? What has to be true? They're what? They're supplementary, right? So 8 and 12 have to add up to 180 degrees. Do you agree with that? So we can just add those together, and we would say that it is
11x minus 7.
and so 11x is equal to 187. So x is equal to 17. Do you agree with that?
Went into it?
All right. Now that x is equal to 17, all right, I'm trying to figure out what the measure of angle 11 is. All right, so 11 right here. So you could say, if you want, 11 is equal to 8, or it is supplementary to 12. Those are your options. And so if x is equal to 17, then 8, angle 8, would equal 78 degrees. Everybody with me on that? And so if angle 8 is 78 degrees, that means angle 11 would have to be what? 78. 11 would be 78 also. So angle 11 is 78 degrees, but we're solving for y. So y, or 3y, equals 78. So y is equal to 26. Okay? Yes. All right, let's take a look at 31. Let's take a look at 31. All right, it says a job hotline service charges $25 plus a 4% commission. All right, so it's $25 plus 4-cent commission. Write an equation that represents the total cost to find a job through the hotline. So everybody with me on that? Does that make any sense? All right, so the total cost is going to be $25 plus 4%. All right. Now it's saying here that what is the cost if the client earns $1,500 the first month? Right. So it's just 1,500 is equal to 25. Wait a minute. No. Oh yeah, it is. If it's 25 plus 0.04 times C. All right. So subtract 25 and divide by 0.04. What was the cost? Anybody can do that on the calculator if you want. $1,500 minus 25. And then divide that by 0.04. 36,000 what? $875. Okay. What did it say? What? Maybe I wrote it wrong. Let me look and see. So it charges $25 plus a 4% commission on the first month's earnings. Okay, that's my mistake. Yeah, on the first month's earnings, I was thinking it was the cost. Thank you very much. So it shouldn't be 0.04 times C. Right? It'd be this C is the actual what? Earnings. All right. So it is 25. I just put it in the wrong spot. So it's 0.04 times 1500. Thank you very much for that correction.
Answer, so it says it's T equals 0.04C plus 25.
Yeah, C is the 1,500. You with me? All right, that was kind of tricky the way they worded it, I thought. All right. Yes.
35.
All right, let's check out 35. Let's see if we get this one right. Okay. So Tanya joined this car place as a salesperson in 1998. The number of cars she sold increased at an average rate of 24 or 25 cars per year between 1998 and 2001. She sold a total of 237 cars. If the number of cars Tanya sells continues to increase at the same rate, how many cars will she sell in 2007? All right. So it says the number of cars she sold increased at an average rate of 25 cars per year, right? Between 1998 and 2001. So in 2001, she sold 237 cars. Is everybody with me on this? So what I'd like for you to do is just write in 2001, she sold 237 cars. Now, if I was being safe, we could say then in 2000, she sold what? 212 cars. Does everybody agree with that? All right. We're just doing what? Decreasing by 25, right? So then in 1999, it was what? Is that right? 187 cars? And then in 1999 or 1998, 162 cars. Everybody okay with that? Now, what we're doing is we're trying to, what we want is we want to kind of write the equation of a line, right? So y is equal to 25x plus what? Now, you have to remember now, it doesn't really matter, but what matters is where you're starting from. Does that make sense? So x, right? So if we're starting, if she said 2001, she sold 237, then 2007 would just be what? 6 years later. Does everybody agree with that? So we could have just said 6 times what? 25. That means she increased it and then add that to 237. All right. Now again, what was kind of throwing me off here was I'm not sure it really matters, those timelines. Does everybody agree with that? All right. Other than the fact that what? You increase by 25 each year. All right, so the objective is to figure out how many years there were from 2001 to 2007, because they said the trend increases. All right. Now, is anybody else? Yes.
Number 45.
Okay, yeah, I think this is a good one to kind of look at. Now, to be honest, I'm not sure if those 1 through 8 are necessary. Everybody with me? All right. And again, 6, 7, 8. Don't force it in there. I'll look at your logic, okay, and see if you're doing what you should be doing. All right. So let's just give it a shot. So now again, some might use 1 and 2 as both what? Given. All right. Some of us might have just put the given down all as 1. So again, I don't really care. So A is parallel to B, and angle 5 is supplementary to angle 2. All right. And we'll just write given and given. And then I'm going to mark the figure for sure that A is parallel to B. A is parallel to B. And then I'm going to keep an eye on angle 5 and angle 2. And I'm trying to prove what? I'm trying to prove that L and M, try to prove that L and M are parallel. Does everybody agree with that? So as soon as they start to tell me about supplementary, I might try to do something with supplementary, right? Can anybody want to tell me what they did as far as the next one goes? Tell me, go.
1 equals 5.
Yeah, okay, we can write that. 1 is definitely congruent to 5. All right, and what I'll do is I'll just, since you started, I'm going to let you see what you did. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 5, and that is here and here. So those are corresponding, and I would just write corresponding angles are congruent. I'm happy with that. And so now what? Let her finish. What's next?
Me?
What are you thinking?
Then 1 and 4.
Now, here's what I'm thinking about, and again, I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong, but I think what we want to try to do is, because something is supplementary, what two angles would be supplementary? I'm trying to think in A and B. They don't even really have a marked, do they? What do you think? Tell me.
I did 2 is
Yes, there you go. Yes, is everybody okay with that? So, if you don't mind, we're going to drop 3 out just for a second, and we might come back to that. But I'm going to pull it out to the side, and we'll go with we'll go over here with say it again. Angle 2 is supplementary to angle 3, and that was, yeah, I don't care what you call it, linear pair postulate. Yeah, linear pair postulate. Says if 2 angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. All right. Angle 3. Hold on, and I want to get rid of this. So we said 5 is supplementary to 2, and 3 is supplementary to 2. Therefore, yes, angle 5 is congruent to angle 3. I like that. So angle 5 is congruent to angle 3, and then we say supplements of congruent angles are congruent. Is everybody with me on that? Supplements of congruent angles are congruent. Supplements of congruent angles are congruent. Okay, so now hold on. I want to mark 5 is congruent to 3. And now what? Yes, now we can add that back in. Thank you. So I'm going to circle this. Angle 1 is now back in the picture. Angle 1 is definitely... All right, angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Corresponding angles are congruent.
And 1 is congruent to 3 by substitution.
Very good. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 by substitution. So now we can say that angle, or not angle, but L is wow, that's kind of silly. I'm going to make that L this way. L is parallel to M, and 1 and 3 are corresponding angle postulate. Yes, it would be. Let's just go ahead and write it down. Converse, since you knew that. It's the converse of the corresponding angle postulate. All right, that is absolutely very good. Yes, sir.
I think this is a lot shorter than how long is correct.
All right, I will tell you.
Alright. So my first one was the given, and A is parallel to B, and 5 supplementary, angle 5 supplementary to 2.
All right.
And then for number 2, I said angle 5 is congruent to angle 3 because of the linear pair postulate.
What you're talking about? 5 and 3?
Yeah, angle 5 is supplementary to angle 3. I mean, not supplementary, congruent to angle 3.
Because why?
Because
That's what we have. Supplements of congruent angles are congruent. Okay.
Yep. And then because 5 and 3 are congruent, then 5 and 7 are congruent because angle 3 is congruent to angle 7.
Well, but you have to say that though, buddy.
Well, I did. And then my next, that was step 2 was 5 is supplementary. And sorry, keep saying supplementary. Angle 5 is congruent to angle 3, and then my next step was angle 7 is congruent to angle 3, which is corresponding angle 0. And then angle 4 was 5 is congruent to 7 because of the transitive property. And then my fifth step was I is parallel to M corresponding angle 0.
Well, first of all, we're not that far apart. You're just saying the given in one statement, and we're writing the given as 2 statements. You agree with that? I think essentially you said the same exact thing because you incorporated the supplements of congruent angles are congruent, right?
Did you say that they're parallel because 3 and 7?
No, because 5 and 7.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You don't say that 5 and 7 are corresponding unless you know that
That is true. You have to. You can't say. So we don't know that L and M are parallel, so you can't say 5 is congruent to 7 just because they're parallel, right? You didn't say that, right?
No, I said it because,
Tell me again.
so I'll just go through step 3 and 4. And I said angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. And then
Those are corresponding angles,
so
yes.
that's good. And then angle 5 is congruent to angle 7 of the transitive property.
Because you said 3 was congruent to 5 and 3 was congruent to 7, therefore 5 is congruent to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing. We just used a different. We just did 1 instead of 7.
Okay.
Yes.
I also have a question.
Okay, I'm listening. Shh.
So I did 5 and the given is 5 and 2 are supplementary.
Right.
So that means 2 and 4 are supplementary.
Okay.
And then
Oh yeah. So
5 is
yeah. So that's the same. I know what you're doing. Yeah, that's right. Because we just used 2 and 3, and you're using what? 2 and 4. And then you can say 4 and 7 are congruent, or 4 and 1 are alternate interior angles.
Fine.
Yeah, you guys got it. That's what I'm saying. You just because what I'm writing is a little bit different doesn't mean you're necessarily wrong. But your logic has to be sound. All right, that's the important part. All right, that's why it's a little harder for me to grade these because I have to follow your reasoning, and some of your reasoning. All right, I'm not sure. All right, but anyway, what else now? Did anybody have any questions with this guy right here?
Was there a
I actually kind of like these.
was there a V? Was there a V on there? I didn't see a V.
Is there a V?
Yeah, we're supposed to find the angles of the letters.
Oh yeah. Basically, what I did here was I just want you to find everything that's missing. So because it's on your iPad, all right, I just erased them, and now just write them in. You with me on this?
Yeah, would it work though?
I don't care how you do it, Walker. I'm just saying, to me, the easiest way is just to white them all out and put them in there, correct? For example, this is 126. This is 54, 54, 126, 54, 54, 126. Then over here, 157. That's 157, and that would be 23. That would be 23. That would be 23. 157. 23. 157. Is everybody agree? And then over here would be 149, and this would be 31 and 31. Everybody good on that? And over here, these are all equal. 54, 126, 126, 54. Everybody good on this? And the same thing over here. 54, 126, 126, 54. Did I write 5? Yeah, thanks. 54, I know you would. All right. And now, what is this right here? This angle. Is that 31? Right? Because consecutive interior angles are supplementary. And that would be 149, 31, 149. What's the matter?
I have a question on 41 and 42.
Okay, but first right here, does anybody have any questions with that? All right, I thought that was kind of easy. All right, now which one? 41 and 42?
Yep.
This picture's wrong.
It's what?
Yeah, because in the
Does it have to be 94?
Yeah.
yeah, because angle 1 is 94, but it's
How do you know angle 1 is 94?
Because that's how we solved it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just.
I know because
Yeah,
it's the
that's
picture.
because
wrong.
it's supplementary.
So what is this angle right here would be 44? Is that right? This angle right here is what? 42, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
And this angle right here would be 44. And so 44 plus 42 is. Oh, what are you saying? Just because it's acute, the angle's up.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. 100. So that's 86, right? So that would be.
I just
94.
there's
Easier
easier
way
way
to
to is triangle.
Yeah, because the angles of a triangle add up to
180.
180.
That's what
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions with that? All right, but we're going to learn that next chapter. All right. And 42. Those just add up to what? 180. Right. Then you solve for x and put it in here, and then angle 2 is that answer. All right. Did you guys have any trouble with the SAT questions?
Yes,
I think I had
49, 50, 51. Those are all SAT or ACT type questions.
48.
48, just to make sure.
Yeah.
what were the answers?
Oh, I'm proud of myself.
For 48.
I did 48.
I just wanted to check.
Oh yeah, that one.
It's 42.
Now,
Yeah.
this right here, if I was just looking, this angle right here would be 138, right?
Yeah.
And then, well, this angle right here then would have to be 42, right?
42 plus 9.
Yeah. They add up to,
Gotcha.
so the answer was D, right?
Oh, I did not get D.
I got 42.
I got 40.
No, I think.
My original answer was 48, but I didn't
Oh,
get
you
it.
put that it was 48 and 42.
Well, why do we think it's 42?
Why is that one?
Oh, I don't know why. I don't know why. Sorry. Bad day for me. This is a 138. It's what?
132.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was an 8. Thank you. Again, 42. Shh. Bad day.
May I use the
I don't care, Walker.
thing?
All right. Anybody else on the
Let me
SATs?
just look at.
Yes.
The answers online only go from 30 to 39.
You're exactly correct. Very good.
Good job, David.
So that's what I'm asking you. What problems do you want? All right, here we go. 51. All right, here we go. It says, in the diagram below, lines M and N are cut by a transversal. Line M and N are not parallel. Which of the following statements must be true? M and N are not parallel. Does angle 1 equal angle 2? Could, right? But doesn't have to. All right, let's look at angle 1 and angle 3.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how hard you try. Those are what?
Vertical.
Vertical. Correct answer, G. Anybody? All right, let's just keep doing these. 52, here we go. Let's see how you're doing on this. It says, in the plane shown in the figure below, lines M and N are cut by a transversal line T. The 8 angles at the intersection of these lines are labeled. Which of the following statements cannot always be used to prove that lines M and N are parallel? 1 and 5, those are what?
Corresponding.
Corresponding. 1 and 7.
They are.
Alternate.
No, they're not alternate. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think G is the answer. Because 1 and 8 are alternate exterior, 2 and 7 are alternate exterior, 4 and 5 are alternate interior. Good job. Good job. 53, here we go. It says one angle, A, has 3 times the measure. Uh-oh, this one was kind of tricky. Yeah, it was good algebra. All right, so one angle, A, is 3 times the measure of its supplement, B. What is the degree measure of angle A? Now, to me, if you got a little bit confused, listen, I want to try to teach you something now, especially when you're taking the SAT or the ACT. Sometimes the algebra is harder than actually just looking at the answers. So what am I trying to say? So this right here is angle A, right? All of these would be considered angle A because those are the answers, correct? So if I did angle A, the first one that comes to mind is B. I'm just going to take a look at B. If A is 120 degrees, that's 3 times the measure of its supplement. What is the supplement of that? 60. Is that the right answer? Is everybody with me? All right, so oftentimes I think it's just easier to just look at the numbers. All right, so 120 is out. All right, so the next one I'm going to try is 150. So let's take that. That's 150. And then the other angle would have to be what? 30. All right? Now, it's saying here, one angle A is 3 times the measure of its supplement. Right? So that would be 90. So is that in? So that can't be the right answer. All right? Now, I'm thinking 135. Let's try 135. All right, so if I let A be 135, then that answer would be what? 45. And what's 45 times 3? 135. Now, is everybody understanding what I'm saying on that? Sometimes it really is easier just to try the numbers. It's easier just to try the numbers. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So let's check out 54. All right. It says in Middletown, Main Street and Market Street are parallel to each other. Patrick Street intersects Market Street to form a 76-degree angle. What is the measure of the angle formed at the southeast corner of Main Street and Patrick Street? So south, all right, and what?
East.
Southeast. So if we're doing the southeast of, southeast corner of Main Street and Patrick, do we agree it's right there? Is that what we're talking about, the southeast?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
So then that would have to be what? 104. Right? All right, let's just do the rest of these. All right, so let's take a look here. how many of them have an angle of measure 50? Is that what it says? Right, so let's just try to figure this out. This makes this 130, 50, 50, correct? Over here, this forces that to be 80. And is L parallel to M, right? So that would have to be 50, right? And then that would force that to be 50, and that to be 50, and that to be 50, right? And then that's also 50, which makes that 50, 130, and 130. Yes. What's the matter? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do we have here? How many? I think 8. C.
1, 2, 3.
Everybody good with that?
Yes, sir.
All right, 49. Is that a positive slope or a negative slope?
Negative.
Negative. So D and E are out. Now I'm looking at the y-intercept. The y-intercept looks to me like 10, so that brings A out. Now it's just a matter, is the slope down 3 and over 1 or down 2 and over 1?
Oh.
So here's a good point right here, and here's a good point right here, it looks like. So I'm going down what?
3.
Down 3 and over what?
1.
What's that?
Starting at 0.5.
B.
Oh, that's
Now again, that's a common theme now on standardized tests, is to adjust the scale, all right, so you make a mistake. All right, you got to be real careful with the X and Y.
Oh, they're being
All right. All right, here we go. So we did that. We did that. What time's the bell ring? And
It's 126.
oh, we got time. Anybody else looking through here?
Or my population.
The algebra problems are kind of easy, right?
Yeah.
I think there's just a couple of proofs. Should be pretty easy. I don't think it's that bad.
Oh, I
Does anybody have any questions with lines or writing the equations with lines?
Record saying it's
All right, here we go. Walker.
Could you do number 43? See if I got it.
Okay, 43. Let's take a look at 43. Okay, now I'm glad you asked me about this actually, because we're trying to prove the alternate exterior angle theorem. And I told you to prove the alternate exterior angle theorem, you're going to have to use what? The corresponding angle postulate. All right, you just can't say they're alternate interior angles, therefore the lines are parallel. That's what you're trying to prove. So it says L is parallel to M. So if L is parallel to M, right, and I'm trying to prove angle 2 is congruent to angle 7. All right? So step 1, I think it's very easy. L is parallel to M, and we'll say that is given. And then step 2, we can say 2 is congruent to 6. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 6. Corresponding angle postulate. There you go. I would write corresponding angles are congruent. All right, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to tell me if it's a postulate or a converse. All right, so now I have 2 is congruent to 6. 6 is congruent to 7, vertical angle theorem. And then we can say
7 by substitution.
2 is congruent to 7 by substitution. Is that what you wrote?
No, but I see how it got.
Good. Good.
It does. I see.
All right, anybody else?
Wait, can I make sure mine is correct?
What?
Is there another way to do that
For what?
for number 43?
If you use corresponding angles, you have to use corresponding angles. We did.
But like not corresponding.
How are you going to relate without putting corresponding angles? Shh, I'm hearing.
Angle 2 is congruent to angle 3 and angle 7 is congruent to angle 6.
So then 2.
Shh, hold on. So those are both vertical angles.
And then 2 is congruent to 7 by substitution.
But we,
But there's nothing. Yeah, that's
I mean, if we
Not,
These can go to 6 by alternate interior angles.
yeah. But again, just use, remember what we said, corresponding angles to prove the other theorems is what you're doing. All right, guys. All right, please review. Please review.
I
Please
haven't
review.
finished this yet, so.
What is the test?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, tomorrow.
Are you okay?
No.